Good evening. Welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website and nbrradio.us. We got to bless the show before we get started. Let's go. When I was in my mother's womb, I had a calling on my life to do something in the glory of God and marry it like a wife. Commit myself to his word and never be led astray. And when it's all over, when he comes, I'll be glad to see that day in the morning time.
All right, good evening. Welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM and 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA.com website. The station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Farron Dozier. I am actually in St. Louis right now, so I am doing or have been at a ABA owners meeting and also the ABA championship weekend game as well. Shouts out to the Chicago Fury for winning the 2024-2025 ABA championship. Great experience. I got a chance to meet a lot of the owners that came out to have discussions about the league. I'm excited because the company that I have, we own 3 ABA teams currently, the IE Hounds, the Ventura County Orcas, and also the Riverside County Mavericks. And so the vision that I have or we have for those teams is to use our curriculum to develop the basketball players themselves, but also then take that knowledge and take it into the school district so that we can then teach this curriculum to the elementary, middle school, high school students. And ultimately, it's developing men and children. I call it, the basketball ministry is called reconciliation and self-forgiveness, because a lot of times we want forgiveness, but sometimes we don't forgive ourselves. And so the conversations that we have in life are usually interpersonal relationships, but I'm speaking from the intrapersonal relationship. That's why I say that there is an I in team, and the I is the individual person who has to reconcile their life back to a level of peace, right? So that they can then give themselves away. So we talk about that, and we have a curriculum for that at eqathletics.com. But again, you can just go to farrondi.com as well. You'll find all that information on social media. And what else? Got a nice guest today, a couple of guests coming in. Of course, we're going to do the bags to canvas at the bottom of the hour. And then, of course, we're waiting on the Sports Collective crew to call in as well toward the latter part of the show to cover some highlights. All right, so we're going to play this public service announcement from Call Me Go. This is our sponsor. Again, if you have any questions about this public service announcement, it is dedicated to veterans. I'm a veteran myself, retired. I'm retiring first class, 24 years in the military. But as human beings, we all deal with some level of stress or anxiety. And sometimes we don't want medication. We want a device that could help us control our breathing. And so you know that breathing techniques can work. This device helps in those conversations. This is Call Me Go on the Farron Dozier Show, KCA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Call Me Go. Call Me Go is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Call Me Go decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit callmego.com to learn how you can get Call Me Go through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
Welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Again, streaming from the KCARadio.com website. Check it out. We also have an app. So make sure you go to whatever device you use, iOS or Android, and download the KCA Radio app. You can listen to us right from your phone. If you're in your vehicle and you got to get out of your car, you can also go to kcaradio.com, click Listen Live and Watch Live, and you can catch us right there at the station. All right, so we got our first guest. Dr. Q is not new to the station or to the channel. We have been talking for a few months now, and he is a great person. Got a lot of work he's doing for the community, and we're going to talk tonight about some more specifics. You can catch that episode because he was actually live in the studio, but tonight he's on the phone lines with me. Dr. Q, you there?
Yeah, hi. Hey, how you doing, man?
What's happening, man?
Hey, nothing much, brother. Life is good.
No doubt.
Sir. Thank you for having me today, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on the show, man, and doing some more conversations around what you're up to in the community to catch the people up. Again, you and I have had some great talks, on the air and off the air. And after the conversation we had this week, I wanted you to come back and talk more about your practice and what that means for you and your family and what's going to be moving forward for the city of Los Angeles and the other counties surrounding. So introduce yourself for me real quick.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So my name is Dr. Quincy Monroe, and you said it. I am doing my best to be involved in the community as a chiropractor, but actually it's more than that. It's a mission, one that's built on health, ministry, and a calling to serve. So I do own a company called Vital Shift Chiropractic. I moved out here from New York. That's where I'm originally from. But being out here in California, all I can say is there's been a lot of opportunities, and so I've been working on transformation. Yes, sir. So basically, our focus is going to be on helping support the backbone of the workforce, meaning we want to help those who tend to have an imbalance at times, whether it's with their work-life balance and even with the pain that they might succumb to, whether it's physical or mental. I'm a doctor who not only cares, but I listen, and I learn about someone new with each visit. So that's what Vital Shift Chiropractic is about.
Yeah. Man, again, thank you again, and I appreciate my players from the Orcas who introduced me to you a few months ago. And like I said, you and I have had some dynamic conversations, man. It's refreshing to be able to talk about some important conversations outside of just superficial talk, right? Sometimes it's good to have somebody that could have some real life experiences, discussions with. So, man, you've been that guy with me, man. So I appreciate you for your ear and for your listening.
Of course, man. I see how you and everything that you're about has been put into fruition, and not only is that inspiring to me as well, but if we could continue to sharpen one another, man, iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah, exactly. So let's get this first piece I want to discuss from you. We calling it From Pain to Purpose, and you pretty much kind of discussed your practice, the Vital Shift Chiropractic, but what's going to be happening with that, man? Anything new coming up?
Oh yeah. So we got a few things coming up. One in particular is I have a grand opening where my practice is going to be at a location right off the major freeway, the I-5, 91, and 57 in California, Southern California. So in my practice, now that it was once mobile, but now it's going to be at a location where truck drivers, honestly, servicemen of any kind, we support the workforce. But we offer DOT exams, chiropractic adjusting, therapy, massage therapy, and infrared sauna. So all of these things are going to be a part of helping restore, a natural way to combat pain. And so it's actually really convenient and a blessing that it's going to be a part of a family wellness center. So not only am I imparting on creating a community by valuing family, like we both discuss from time to time, but also Vital Shift Chiropractic is going to be at a location where students and those alike can really come and get treated at a convenient location.
I appreciate you, sharing that and why I asked you to come here, because there's a few things that we discussed, and you mentioned it by saying, a holistic type of way. A lot of times, and there's nothing wrong with going to the doctor, right? I don't believe there's nothing. It's not for me to determine what's right or wrong in that field, right? Because God can use everything for His good, right? Even if it's medication. But I know with our community, man, the trust factor, even at a holistic level, how do you create that space for the? And I'm gonna say this too, ladies and gentlemen, just so you understand where I'm speaking from. We use the word trust toward human beings so much that we can get lost in that language, because you're not supposed to trust me, right? You're supposed to have confidence in me. You trust in God, but you have confidence in man, right? So, Dr. Q, how do you establish that level of confidence when someone's interested in, coming to your place to get some work done and they're skeptical? Like, how do you have those kind of conversations to build that, that connectedness?
That's a good question. I think the thing that helps the most is empathy and a great understanding for what it's like to just experience things that don't necessarily feel good at one moment, and you may need to vent it out and also get to the bottom of it through guidance and empowerment. I believe that whether you are going to see your doctor for anything, it's about the dynamic of interdependence, whereby I want to educate and I need a patient to educate, and one that's willing to be patient with me. So a big factor of that is, as a pain management professional, I try to emphasize that pain isn't a punishment, it's a message. So that allows me,
the body is giving you some alarms, right? It's giving you some signals that something's not working correctly.
Exactly. It's not working correctly. And I understand how that can even affect someone's work and life balance. Sometimes we all are dealing with a thorn under our foot. And that severance, man, when we don't understand that we have to consider our health in our work and our work in our health, then we wouldn't at some point find ourselves straining relationships that are really important. When we come home, whatever we do, we need to find ourselves recharged, because a new day is coming and every structure needs maintenance.
Man, me and my mom was talking early last week, and we were talking about how people say I'm a hustler and I'm grinding and doing all these things that are driving them for the bag and all this other stuff, and they don't realize how that could be costing them their well-being, their health, their love and affinity for people. Like you said, relationships. We use the term health is wealth as a cliche, but do you really understand what that experience is like when your health is starting to deteriorate because you're chasing something and something inside of you is driving you that's unhealthy?
Exactly. I like the way you put that. There's a show actually that I've been watching recently, and it's called Severance. So it's a sci-fi show, and basically it talks about a worker, right, needing a certain job to provide and do what they have to do for their family, but not reading the fine line. What's in the fine print when you sign that contract is very important. And in this show, it talks about that fine line, meaning you have to forget when you come to this workplace about everything. outside of work, and all your focus should just be on work. And again, sort of encouraging or revealing, rather, how much we kind of bring ourselves to that every day. Over time, we just forget, you know what? I got a life outside of this, and I have to take care of that too. So I think it's good to challenge that and be the person bringing that awareness. And again, this is all a part of building trust and building that community we talked about.
Yeah, again, just to expand what you said, when I go to speak about sickle cell trait with these soldiers now, I also added this conversation of your work is what you do, is not who you are. And sometimes those worlds collapse and you lose sight of what you care about, and that could, again, lead to anxiety and depression and all these other experiences because we're so caught up in either the uniform or the athletics or whatever that is in that job, right? And so losing sight of that can also cost you in the long run because we focus on what we're doing and we don't look at that human experience, and then that causes us to set our health aside, like, I'm all right, it'll pass. And you have no idea what's going on. We can't see inside our body.
Exactly. And trust me, I was a student of pain, burnout, and grind until you break, But I had to realize that if I kept going with that mentality, I was only going to find myself in unnatural situations.
Yeah.
Something that I feel like God hasn't designed us to continue on doing. And because of that, I have people around me, whose lives were destroyed, of the things they went to because it was just Band-Aids. And so opioids, that's a big one, especially during COVID, right? Those numbers, they increased the stats, they showed things, and I just got tired of going to funerals too soon, man. So, we all need a vital shift. If I should bring up the name, and again, I guess that's what brings it back to everything we do is for a reason. It should be for a purpose, too. So.
No doubt, man. Again, thanks for listening in. This is the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website. The station leaves no listener behind. Again, make sure you go download the app if you want to get this and listen to the other podcasts and talk shows on this platform. Or, again, just another convenient way where if you're traveling out of town or wherever, you can always grab us from the app or at kcradio.com from the website as well. I'm going to take a public service announcement break again with Comigo. We're going to come back and wrap it up with Dr. Q. I got a couple more questions for you, man, so don't go nowhere.
Right on.
Right. Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Comigo. Comigo is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes. In moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Comigo decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Comigo.com to learn how you can get Comigo through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
All right, welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Just so y'all know, we are working back to get simulcast with MB Radio. That's right, mbradio.us. That's the other platform that I do my military talk show with. Just got to get some technical difficulties situated between the two platforms so that we can stream simulcast Sunday nights at 8 p.m. on both platforms. because our sports platform is going to be expanding, and we want to be able to have those two platforms combined together as I attempted the first part of last year. So just make sure you stay tuned for that. You can go to MB Radio and check me out on Wednesday nights at 4 p.m. Pacific time. We are getting our show situated on Lit Live. It used to be Dash Radio, but the CHH, the Gospel Hip Hop Talk Show, the Revolution Radio Show, they are doing some work now, reconstructing since the takeover from Dash to Lit Live, and so we made the cut. So our show will continue over there on Saturdays right now at 7 p.m. and Sundays at 5 p.m. is the Christian Hip Hop Talk Show, the Revolution Radio Show with my guy One Way TK. And then you can catch me on Beyond 2D with Jessica every second and fourth Tuesday. We just completed Love Conversations. I made it through that, luckily. And up next, we're going to be discussing the difference between choices and decisions. All right? It's the difference between a choice and a decision. And they are very similar, but each one can leave you in a different experience of life. And that's what I speak from. I speak from there's an activity of life that we talk about, but then there's the experience of life that we also live from. And sometimes those two worlds are not connected. And this is what we're talking about with Dr. Q. And you mentioned, around our health, we mentioned about health is wealth. As to me, that's a very strong cliche that we probably all heard. But you touched on something that I want to end this segment with you with. It's around the grief part, right? Because at some point, we all will pass away, right? We all have that in common. And I wanted to ask you, from your perspective of the word prevention. I'm not putting you on the spot, but I'm learning for myself as I'm this advocate for sickle cell trait, and we have athletes and people dying, soldiers are dying from this inherited gene caused by another, complication called rhabdomyolysis, or infections that having the cold can trigger the rhabdo. And it's a very fine line because I know language is important, right?
Right.
How do you use the word prevention in your conversation? Or how do you talk about, getting your body back in alignment? Are some of these things preventive, or you just got to be able to pay attention to your body and take care of it when it gives you those signs?
Right. My response to that would be if prevention, which is not the only way to go about it, but if we look at what prevention is, it's a way of being aware of triggers, of signals, and when those things are brought to one's attention, either through a healthcare professional or one's own experiences, we then realize, okay, there's going to be a time where I have to look at the decisions I'm making and the choices and the difference between that. Because when you think about it, a choice has many options, but a decision is about direction.
Yeah.
And I think the beautiful thing about being a healthcare provider, one that focuses mainly on prevention, is I want to not only educate the patient of the choices that are available, but I want to give them the direction as to how we can build on noticing things, strengthening areas where weakness is apparent, and how we can move on when it hurts, but realize, hey, I'm building strength here. Prevention is a part of understanding your direction, but also understanding where you can build a better foundation from.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Again, man, I appreciate you for hanging out, man, tonight. Like I said, always a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, we have conversations that y'all would be like, yeah, those dudes are up to something. And like I said, for me, our words are important, our language is important, and your health is, to me, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not trying to be one. I'm a patient advocate, and I deal with health issues. I deal with what Dr. Q said. I have a thorn. I have a couple of thorns, right? and so understanding, on the spiritual aspect, because your spirit, ladies and gentlemen, is going to look for something to connect to. And it's not for me to tell you what's right or wrong, but for me and my house, we follow the Lord and the Trinity. And in that biblical context, it talks about living with afflictions, right? It talks about the strongholds that we're dealing with in our life experience. And sometimes those things are given to us to grow us closer to God. And it could be the world has an opinion on it, about these different type of illnesses, but I can tell you in the spiritual context, they're not weaknesses, right? There's a whole nother view of what that illness and affliction, and if you study that, you can see in the Bible there's been a lot of miracles of people being healed in the Bible. But for us here on earth, sometimes these things that we're dealing with could be the reason why you were born, to share that story, to help someone else on how you're surviving and how you're making it, right? So it's not always a negative conversation, but you can either go with what the world has to say or what the Word has to say. But your spirit's going to find something to connect to, right?
Absolutely. Yes, brother. I appreciate that. And you're right, it's about walking down that road, but knowing when to start and commit to it.
Yeah, man. And health, like I said, for me, that thorn, you pointed to that thorn, is usually some kind of health. Like, no, I don't want to say no one escapes it, but we all deal with something, and sometimes we suffer in silence, and that also could impact your health, right? I listened to a lot of Dr. Sabi. I met him before he passed, and he talked about the free radicals and how cancer cells and mucus and all these things are derived from a lot of mucus stuff, and we don't realize that.
Exactly. And all of that is a part of, reclaiming power. Because it's really a part of, a forward path. And I think when more brothers, individuals who really care about making a difference, for a better community, then I think, we can continue to pass on that torch of courage and inspiration. And I appreciate you bringing me out here today.
Right. So before we go, man, give out your business name, if you can give an address or a website or an email, a phone number, your days, your times of operation, and when, how people can start to reach out to you.
Absolutely. So you can find me on vitalshiftcairo.com. Again, that's vitalshiftcairo.com. We are open 7 days a week. Grand opening will be in 607 South Harbor Boulevard, Anaheim. In 2 weeks, you can definitely follow for more information on vitalshiftcairo.com. I have some wonderful things there to share and some wonderful things that are coming soon. Thank you, and know that you are supported.
We're talking about work-life balance, ladies and gentlemen. Health and safety is important for me as a conversation, and this is definitely included into what we are talking about. So, Dr. Q, man, I appreciate you, man. I love you, brother, man. You've been nothing but a blessing in my life. As iron sharpens iron, we are having those conversations, man. I'm really grateful for you.
Likewise, brother. Thank you.
All right, we'll catch up. All right, this is the Farron Dozier Show on KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Also, streaming from the KCAA Radio.com website, the station that is no listener behind. This is the Farron Dozier Show. Go get the app. Go to
Some
your
of us
iOS
still
or,
carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes in moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia. Not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Comigo decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Comigo.com to learn how you can get Comigo through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
All right, welcome back to the Farron Dozier Show on KCA Radio 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Hey, if you want more information, I was talking about sickle cell traits. Make sure you go to WDCONSCT.org. Also, I need to make this announcement. I'm going to be doing another Shattered Thoughts conversation. That's right. I did a Shattered Thoughts in February, and we're going to do another one in April, on April 17th. You can go to FarronD.com to check that out. It was only going to be 15 spots. It is virtually, so we're only going to do 15 spots, but I decided to crack it open to 30 spots. So shouts out to Jessica on the Breakthrough Show Network. They are going to host that for me. It's called Shattered Thoughts, and I'm having a conversation. It's geared toward the veteran community, right? Because I'm a veteran, and I was asked to do this talk because if you understand or you're interested in what veterans go through, there's a lot of transition and change. There's sometimes that we move around every 3 years. Now you're having children, and now that child has to be uprooted after a certain age and move to another state or to another base, and now your family's every 3 to 4 years you're moving around. But do we really pay attention to the change and transition? And for some people, transition and change is an emotional fracture, and those can happen not only for us veterans, but I was listening to some athletes talk about their life, and as an athlete, you're playing professional sports somewhere, you're traveling, and so you're away from your family a lot of the times, and then you come back home, right? And so when I looked at it for myself, I saw that, man, when I had my family, when I was married, I would disconnect from my family about 2 weeks before I got to go somewhere because of that emotional disconnection, because we're trained not to worry about your family when you're out training for war, right? Or when you go to war, you don't want to be daydreaming and wondering and worrying about what's going on at home. So that's a part of our development as a soldier, as a warrior, as an airman, that you emotionally disconnect. And I could tell the truth to myself that I actually would disconnect from my family about 2 weeks before I had to leave to go somewhere, just so I could not have those emotions, like literally shut them down. And guess what that does? I can still do that today. And so being able to share, not just from the veteran perspective, but from the child's perspective, because as an emotional child for myself, I was able to discover a lot of my own personal transition and changes that were emotionally fractured. And then now we're talking about depression and anxiety. We're talking about I'm not good enough, I'm not worth it, I'm disappointed in my mom and dad, and all these abandonment issues. Those are the things, that we all grow up with as people. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder, that's complex. That's like in your environment as a child. And so if you can imagine growing up as a child like I'm a burden on my family, and you live with that one fracture for your whole life, how can you have a healthy relationship when subconsciously you're living from I'm a burden, and you have evidence, you have body sensations to prove it to you? So I'm going to be having that talk on April 17th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. is virtually. There's some spots left open, so you can go there, register, get you a spot. If you want to have a family gathering, you can have as many people online as you want, but we have about 30 spots that you can reserve. And I believe there's about 16 the last time I checked before I came out here to St. Louis. All right, so I believe I have our next guest. We're going to talk about some Bags to Canvas. Bags to Canvas is one of the segments that when we created Sports Collective in like 2009, 2010, I wanted to have a segment for each sport because my sickle cell trait is connected to sports. So I made up all these different segments for football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, whatever. And so the boxing one came up for me as Bags to Canvas. So you live at Farron Dozier. What's happening?
Well, yo, what's up? Boom, bam,
What's
bing.
up?
Another episode of Man Canvas. This is big.
How you doing, man?
Man, you know I'm doing it, man. How you doing tonight? Shout out to all my fellow veterans out there, man, that's battling PTSD, sickle cell, what you dealing with. You know, we got you. We here for you. God bless you all.
Yeah, man. Thank you. This is Big Dre, ladies and gentlemen. He is one of my veteran partners. We did some talk shows together at LA Talk Live back in the day. I had Trench Talk over there, and then they had Veterans Day Live over there. So, man, thanks for hanging out tonight, man.
Man, I'm out in the field tonight. Me and the missus out in Lancaster. Had some business out here with the family, and we decided to stay at a beautiful Marriott Inn, Sweet Inn, which is out here until tomorrow. And I said, I can't forget my bags to Kansas. There's some big news in the boxing world. Last night's fight on Prime Video was Kasu against Joey Spencer. Boy, I don't know what ring Joey Spencer was in, but he got his ass handed to him last night. Fourth round stoppage by Kasu. Shout out to my boy Tim. And of course, after the fight was over, he was called out by the one and only Chief one-time Thurman. He said you got rid of his boy in 3 rounds and told Kasu, you got rid of your boy in 4 rounds. Just sit in the contract and let's go to war. That was a good fight last night,
Yeah.
So look out for it. Look out for the next big one. May 2nd in the Madison Square Garden, Roly against Ryan Garcia. Now, to break that fight down, because you guys are big fight fans, you know how Roly is. Roly is a fighter who got knocked out by Gervonta Davis. He had a couple of losses since then. He talked his way into getting that title fight with, Gervonta, and he's going to walk him down with his brute, aggressiveness, the bulldog style, and he got knocked out in the 6th. But he has an awkward way of fighting, and who knows what's going to happen against Garcia, who got very quick hands, a good technical fighter, but the situation with Garcia is, he's been dealing with mental health issues. He tested some substance. He fought against what's the boy Devin Haney. He beat up like a wet food stamp. Devin got his butt whooped, but Devin cried about, oh my God, he was extra strong, and he whooped your ass, Devin. So just get it right, understand. But the fight game is crazy, and of course we're getting ready for the big anticipated in September. Canelo versus the Bud Crawford. They're still hyping it up. Bud was interviewed talking about he understands that that Alvarado Canelo is bigger, stronger. He said he thinks he had a skill mindset to fight him and outbox him. Time will tell.
You mentioned the previous fighter, and we interviewed Coop Ace on the Trench Talk episode edition last week on Wednesday, and man, I appreciated that guy's conversation so much, man, because it was you too. It was your martial arts that you guys have, and we're talking about this boxing world, and I'm a mental toughness guy. Those are what I'm here to have those talks about, and to get into that kind of mindset, man, as a boxer or even with your martial art as you're training for that stuff, I know that takes something.
It does. Like they say, I heard you earlier talk about the mental of a soldier. When you off the battle, when you off the war, when I was bodyguard, when you off to go do something, you had to isolate yourself from your family. It took 3 to 4 weeks sometimes me to say, I'm going to go on a tour for the next 3 to 4 months, and I don't care if it's a high-end celebrity or a low-end celebrity, your mindset needs to be focused on that celebrity, and that's what's going on at home. And it takes the mental toughness out of you. So hats off go to anybody who's out there fighting the wars, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we had to deal with that. So it takes a toll on your body and your mental aptitude, the way you think, the way you act around other people when you're in the public eye. You're a soldier first, and then you're a citizen second. If you're doing 6 years, 10 years, 20 years, you're going to always be a soldier first for your country. And then when you're out, you're finally gone, you have to decompressionize your brain to come back in society. That's the mental aspect.
And I look at that like a boxer. Like, you got to shut down and go train, right? So you got to get your mind clear, like all of that.
No sex, no family, none of that stuff. You just got to focus on it, man. You might get injured. You're not beating up. You're taking all that frustration out on your sparring partners. I mean, when James Toney fought, James Stan, he talked about your mama, how you had sex with your mama. You wasn't nothing, you piece of shit. It was crazy. He had closed sessions. He wasn't involved. He tell me no one involved while I'm training. It was out of the wild card, on Violin, in Sunset over there, Freddie Roach's gym. And once we sat down, no one allowed to go in there. Us training with his sparring partners. And he had to take these fights serious. When you're getting $10, $15, $20 million fights, you're not going to fight none of them are beating the crap out of that guy across the ring.
You can't be worried about nothing outside of that ring at any given time.
Exactly.
I can imagine.
That's what we deal with in the boxing game. You got a big one coming. You got Robert Plant for the fight. A gentleman on the same card is the Charlo brother. One of the brothers, twin brothers, have a major problem. Look at that felony charges. Look at that prison time. One of the brothers was a world champion. I think it's just an older brother by a minute. I think in a fight on the same card as Plant. I guess about 6 months ago they had a fall. Now I'm not sure if that was him or the other brother, but he slapped one of the Charlo brothers. Robert Plant did. Oh my God! When I tell you, he slapped him. He slapped the taste out of the tube. Plant. He did the Charlo brother so hard, man. It was a slap across the world. It was, I guess, after a fight. And he said, "No, come up on me, disrespected me, and popped him." And I guess after these two little fights, they're gonna go out in the ring. That's what it looks like right now. Like you said, how boxing is. It's politics. UFC still kicking our butt. It's politics. So you'll talk crap for 5 years, and all of a sudden, here you come. You're the ring man. But now you're old, you're washed up, and they said, Manny Pacquiao's going to fight again against Amir Khan. Yeah, he knocked Amir Khan out, but they're going to do it again.
What's your opinion on that? What's your opinion on that? Should you stay home and put the gloves on the shelf, or do it till you can't do it no more?
Both of them should hang him up. This is to the point that Manning's in his 40s now. Hang it up. You're a citizen. You're a governor. You're a citizen governor in the Philippines. You can become president anytime you want, and you pretty much rebuilt Philippines by yourself. You and Apple the Black Eyed Peas come out and built new dams, new schools. You ask yourself, do I still want to box?
But like us as soldiers, that identity. But that identity is tough, man.
It is. It's definitely identity. It's like being in a cell shot room and you trying to figure out, is it like me? Is it the PTSD kicking in? Do I have to have these gloves on? When I play boxing with somebody, do the itch come back? I'm sure it does. Every time you play boxing with somebody, you might throw a fake jab, like throw it behind, throw overhead, and all of a sudden, here you go. Your itch comes back. I got one more good one in me. Just give me $10 million. That would happen to George Foreman. Rest in peace. We lost a great one last week. And that would happen to him. He had the itch at 45. I can still do it. He went out there and proved the world. He knocked Michael Moore out in the 10th round. That devastated, went right through the gloves, out of chin, sleep. So the itch was there. And then you got Holyfield trying one more time against James Toney. He got knocked out in the 9th round. He got embarrassed. He couldn't stop James. He was hitting James. He tried to hit James, but James, the pickable style was one of the masters of that. It's not Floyd Mayweather. That's it. Correct. Floyd Mayweather did not stop. He did not do the shoulder roll. He did not perfect that. James Toney was a second-generation fighter who perfected the roll. The first guy who did it was an Italian fighter back in the early part of the 40s and 50s. He was on the shoulder roll. And then James took it, perfected the way he wanted, and it was very hard to get James Toney. I mean, I don't want to say one of those devastating knockout artists around. 99 fights, never been knocked out. Never been knocked on canvas. So, you got what did I tell you about a person got with 99 fights? But 97, 98, close to 100 fights. That's unheard of. Ray Robinson had 440 fights. Ray Robinson did. A lot of these guys fought, a big bunch of fights, and they came unbelievable records. Jersey Joe. You had your boy, for Detroit, Joe Louis. Guys fought 100 fights. Jack Johnson over 200 So people fought like 100 rounds back then. So you guys had the endurance level in the heat back then. And Jack Johnson did it. But he fought, man, sometimes 13, 14, 40, 50 rounds.
And they was fighting. And they was fighting back then. That was.
You know what I mean? So it shows you the accolades of the boxing world. The boxing world is crazy. And that's why when you start getting yourself involved in boxing, I started, James, shout out to Pops, John Arthur, rest in peace, who taught me to get in boxing. With James, I learned to be a historian about it, studying on the boxing, one of the best fighters around. My top 5, of course, is Rocky Marciano, Joe Louis, James Toney, Floyd Mayweather, George Foreman. Ali wasn't the greatest of all time. In his era, he was. But when it comes to fighting, you had people like Rocky Marciano fighting people. He was 185 pounds, fighting down to 220 as a heavyweight. So it was like, you can't put who the GOAT. It's hard to put the GOAT.
Yeah, like you said, each generation has their greatest fighter.
Greatest generation. You can't say LeBron's the GOAT of all time. You go Kareem Rocket. You keep forgetting LeBron had 4-year jump start on Kareem. Kareem had 4 years of college at UCLA before he came to the pros. LeBron came out of high school. If Kobe would have stayed healthy, Kobe would have broke that record. Kobe just got tired of the game. So, the GOAT is in boxing is just who puts the gloves on, who has some mental capability of being a world champion, and that's what happens to him all the time in the boxing game. So, that being said, all the fights coming up the next couple of months are going to be incredible. The Plant in May, you got Rolly's fight May 2nd. The big one, of course, September with Crawford and Alvarez, and in between that, who's going to be next on this field. The UFC got some big ones coming up, So it's going to be some fights. And we'll be at a couple of them for sure after that. We just getting our feet wet in the media part of the platform of it and doing more of this media stuff. We have this year, we want to do a little bit more shows on the canvas so they can get a chance to see what we're going on and everything else. But besides that, I give a shout out to our show on Wednesday. We have a special guest coming on Wednesday. I'll be getting information to you tomorrow. Lento, this guy evolutionized the gun control of America. He has a whole platform that he's going to discuss a little bit on the show about it when you get a chance to meet the guy. Unbelievable what him and his partner have designed to bring about $2 billion a year back to California to help you control the situation of gun control in America. So basically, there's a system they actually created that I can tell you that actually can help people know when you use it, how responsible with your firearm. But you can't say, well, it wasn't me. Yes, it was, because it was one materialist thing that he have created will make sure you held accountable for every time you pull that gun on somebody or use that pistol or somebody's firearm in America. So he's going to come on the show on Wednesday, and I'm going to send I'll do a meet on the phone with him tomorrow with you, and you get a chance to meet him. But, that's what it's all about. But I appreciate you, brother, all the shows.
Yeah, man. Thank you for hanging out, man.
This dude, I'm telling you, folks, in Radio Land, this boy on his phone with a gentleman on his phone.
I'm in St. Louis. I'm like, we're not doing no reruns. I'm traveling, and I'm like, no, we're not doing. We call it the hotel room.
I'm in California, so we should have. And I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen, people. I'm in the process now running for City Council, District 8 in Los Angeles in 2028. But I'm in the process now looking for actual space. I'm going to wait for a while to tell Mr. Farron Dozier this. I have a gentleman who has a couple of buildings. He's interested in letting us have our own studio closer to where you will be. We have our own Trench Talk studio. Our
man. Don't leak that yet.
Yeah, we talking about it, ladies and gentlemen.
Man, you don't even know.
I'm telling you, man, bro. We trying to do our own thing, man. And I've been negotiations with this dude. We want to have our own name on the side of the building that we come to get our people to come out and do more Black Excellent Radio. We're trying to do. So we work on that right now. And like I can say, stay tuned. The marathon is still coming.
Big Dre, man, thank you for your time tonight, bro. I really appreciate you, man.
Oh, for sure. You too, man. God bless you. I saw you commentating the basketball game. Phenomenal. You look good up there, being a commentator, and also an owner of 3 ABA teams. And Anybody out there got some skills, man, hit your boy up.
Man, the East Coast got some skills, bro. I don't know what to say. The East Coast been winning all the championships, man. So we're going to talk about that some more.
Oh, yes, for sure. So thank you,
all right,
out there, Radio Land, for being on the Badge campus every Sunday at 8 o'clock. You come check us out. And, you know, shout out to all the people at KLC and Radio 106.5. And I appreciate you guys forever. And I thank you always, Mr. Dozier.
All right, Big Dre. Thanks for your time, bro. Appreciate you.
All right. Blessings.
All right. Thanks. This is the Farron Dozier Show, KCA Radio. We got other guests on the line there? Is the Sports Collective crew there? So we're going to put this public service announcement, call me, go, and I'll come back. No, matter of fact, no, we're going to wait. So this month of April has been deemed Rhabdomyolysis Awareness Month. And that is something that is important to me in another conversation because I experienced rhabdo in the military with my sickle cell trait. That's actually what caused my career to come to an end. And so I've partnered with an organization, the Rhabdo Foundation, and we are doing talks the whole month of April. I mean, we're just continuing what I've been up to. But it's a very important conversation. Athletes, military, people just working out, anybody can experience rhabdo. If you want information about this topic or you're listening and you've experienced rhabdo, you can reach out to me. Visit Rhabdo, www.rhabdo.info. You can go there and get information about that cause. It is very important. It's rare, and we are making sure that people are getting informed about this information. So I thank you again for listening. This is the Farron Dozier Show. But rhabdo, I just go to rhabdo.info. I can tell you right now, they're saying that the children are getting sick from this new flu virus, and it's causing little children to have rhabdo because of the high fever. So if you understand by that child having the infection or having that virus and the fever of the heat, temperature, body temperature, it's causing the body, the myoglobin in the muscles to break down, and then that child is experiencing high levels of creatinine kinase levels. And if those numbers get to 50,000 in the bloodstream, renal failure is possible, and also possibly sudden death. It can have cardiac arrest and things like that. So it is very important conversation. You can go to @Farron Dozier, FarronDozier on all platforms, especially on Instagram @Farron Dozier. You'll be seeing some things there posted across our platforms, Sports Collective Media as well, @WDC on SCT as well. Those are all the Farron Dozier Show. Those are all the platforms. Just click on one of those. It'll lead you to me somewhere on social media on IG. I was hoping that the Sports Collective crew was going to make it on for the last few minutes to talk about some of these professional sports. But again, we thank you for your time tonight. Shouts out to Dr. Q, Big Dre.
Robert Lamar out? Is that what's going on?
What's up, Bill?
What we doing? Robert Lamar can't get no airtime this week?
Hey, you know what? Where you been?
You know what? You in St. Louis.
I'm in St. Louis.
So what, is this contractual or something? Just let your boy know what's going on. You feel me?
Hey. What's happening? We got a couple of minutes. What's going on?
Hey, in 10 seconds, man. So I hope you're having fun out there, man. We about to get back in the studio next weekend, man, and we should have another full show on deck, man. So you good out there?
Yeah, man. Matter of fact, I'm leaving in the morning, 5:20 to head back to California, man, to get back on track. But everything was cool here, man. Everything is cool. ABA stuff is legit. Just getting them platforms together, man, so we can have some fun with that, man.
Good deal, man. I hope you found a sexy girl while you was out there, man. Tell me all about it when you get home.
Where coach at? Where coach at?
Oh no, man! It'd be some technical difficulties and all when it comes to these lines. We need to have a meeting, man. We need to figure this out, bro.
For real. The Sports Collective, man. How you been? All right though?
Yeah, man. We just
what you got going?
Just out here just trying to get better, bro. That's all that is, man.
Yeah.
It's always crazy. Another day, another adventure.
Cool, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back in the studio live next weekend, Sunday night at 8 p.m. On KCA Radio. Again, visit us at Sports Collective Media. Follow Robert Lamar at Robert Lamar. It's 26, right?
That part.
And again, at Sports Collective Media for In the Zone. Shouts out to Coach Will. And you'll catch us in the station Sunday at 8 p.m. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Shouts out What's the Count.
Some of us still carry the burden of battle. It threatens to drown us in our everyday lives. In battle, we had our weapons and combat gear to keep us safe, to keep us confident. But when we returned home, we were not armed with weapons and gear to cope with our own minds. I was lucky to find my combat gear, my mental weapon, and it's called Calmago. Calmago is a drug-free device that allows you to achieve calm in less than 3 minutes. In moments of anxiety, stress, anger, panic, or insomnia, not with medication, but rather by activating the parasympathetic nervous system through breathing regulation and multisensory stimulation. A recent study has shown that Calmago decreases PTSD and anxiety levels in veterans, helping those who are suffering and having a long-lasting effect. Visit Calmago.com to learn how you can get Calmago through the VA or with a special veterans discount code.
KCAA.